Hello, welcome to the Uniquely Divine Conversations podcast. I am here with my good friend Danielle Grimm, and we are meeting once a month to have conversations about spirituality, life, energy, intuition, and everything in between. We have powerful conversations on our own, and we like the idea of bringing these conversations to you. Not too long ago, Danielle Grimm, she joined me on my podcast, and we had some great conversations about the chakras and how that showed up in our life, professionally and personally, and that sparked us to want to share more conversations. So here we are. Shall we introduce ourselves a little bit, Danielle? Good
Oh, yeah.
morning, by the way.
Good morning. Nice to be here with you again.
Absolutely.
I
Do you
love
want
it.
to start and introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm Danielle Graham, owner of Divine Clarity. I'm an intuitive card reader and medium and offering all types of services, clearing, cleansing, chakra clearing, pet bereavement, Reiki, a plethora.
Very cool. I love it. Thank you. And you are located out of,
Oh, that's right. Connecticut shoreline.
but you also do a bunch of virtual stuff, correct?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Awesome. Very cool. I am Caryn Slack. I am a spiritual life coach. I have a passion for guided meditation, intuitive contemplation, energy work with some tapping thrown in there. And I think that there's a beautiful wholeness to spiritual and energetic self care. And I love creating space for my clients to witness themselves fully and to find tools and intentions and how to use them in their life to connect with their intuition, to find balance in their energy, to just in general live their best self and best life. So, and I love just hashing out about stuff, and that's what we're here to do. So, we would love today to talk about, and maybe that's why you clicked on this podcast, to talk about the stinky sock of spirituality. But
Make me giggle
let's
every time.
I know, right? That was a conversation we had recently where we were talking about all the stuff with our spiritual selves and human self and some of that stuff that comes up that isn't pleasant that we have to move through and what it looks like. But first, let's just touch base. How was life? How were the holidays? And are you ready for the new year?
You know what? Yes. Everybody's like, oh, I can't wait for this year to be over. It's like the stroke of midnight is that magic hour where everything from the past will magically disappear and everything will be wonderful. And we all know that's not true. However, I am ready to move forward. I do feel like 2024 and before has been a little funky for a lot of people, myself included. And I'm ready to embrace that newness and that freshness that comes along with the new year.
Absolutely. I think it's one of those things that we all feel that newness that comes with a new year, but it feels bigger and brighter this year. And
Mhm.
I think that a lot of people seem to be grabbing onto the notion that we get to have a fresh start and we get to try again. And there feels like our capacity for newness and our capacity to try differently feels bigger.
Mhm.
One thing I noticed this year that I haven't really given enough credit for in the past years is the completion, the release that happens in December. Because we know that whole new year, new feeling that we all experience, even if we want to experience or not. But we forget about that completion and that release and that happens as we move through December. So it feels like it's a good transition. And
Right.
I'm with you. I feel very motivated for myself and for the work that I do to embrace intention work and honor the weight and power of intentions for peace, in light, in brightness, in joy, in appreciation, and forgiveness, and how those get to show up in our life just as much as the struggle and the yuck and the release shadowy energies do. And I'm excited to see where it goes.
I love that too. And on that, I would love to piggyback on that for a minute about what a great time this is to clear your space, to clear your house. Not for anything, but we've all had family over and lots of energies in the house. Sometimes, even when it's pleasant, your space should be cleared. So it's your own again, and you get that peace and your calm to start over.
It's funny you say that this morning. I was thinking because I clear my workspace every time I come in. Like I set the tone to I don't know exactly what the phrase is I use, but I'll light some dried lavender or dried rose petals or dried rosemary, and I'll say I release all negative dense energies and may it be renewed with healing light, love, and grace, or whatever words and intentions feel good. And I do that on the regular within my workspace. And admittedly, in my personal space, I'm not always the best at that until it feels overwhelming. And this morning, I'm like, my house feels really good. However, I would like to tomorrow on New Year's Eve open up the windows, open up the doors, light some herbs in a controlled way, and just go through and clear the energy of the space.
How awesome is that?
But there's a physical cleansing that happens too, that I'm glad you brought that up of clearing your space because there's so many people you hear already are like, I'm ready to get the Christmas decorations down. I don't know how long you keep your holiday. We celebrate Christmas, so we have Christmas decorations.
You
And
don't know.
and I don't know how long you keep yours up, but like this year, like I'm ready for them to come down. And there's a lot of people that are ready for them to come down soon. And I think that's part of it is removing that extra and clearing out your space physically. We overhauled 3 bedrooms in our house. My bedroom's completely different. I got a nice cozy little nook to record podcasts in. Ava's bedroom is the cleanest it's been in I think all of last year. So there's definitely a clearing of spaces.
Yes, this year we got within the year, a little over a year, we got 2 puppies, as you know, and
Mhm.
we had children, small children here as well. And I was like, no way am I putting anything up. No, there was like 2 hats that we had used in parades and stuff, and a tiny little tabletop Christmas tree that I kept up because I do like the lights. For me, Christmas is the before. Chris up to Christmas Eve, that's Christmas to me. It's the lights, the anticipation, that spirit everyone has. And Christmas Day, my kids and my husband make fun of me all the time because even this time I started sneaking around after presents. I took a hat down, I took another hat down. And our son is like, really? And I'm like, I can't. Just putting everything in a bag. It's done. Christmas Day is done.
Yep.
It's
It's
terrible.
no, that's funny. That makes sense. We used to have a tradition, and this was probably it started like almost 19 years ago when I was pregnant with Leah, I had issues with my hip and I wasn't moving and I was exhausted. So after Christmas, I just didn't take the Christmas decorations down, and I didn't take the tree down until like the morning she was born
Wow.
because things started happening in the middle of the night and it wasn't time to go and it wasn't like really happening. So I'm up. I took Christmas decorations down. So for a while we'd keep the decorations up until her birthday because it became tradition. But now I'm like, nope, gotta go.
Well, now I just thought of something. A good thing we didn't have a true topic for this podcast because we're going to go a little crazy. But when
Absolutely.
you were talking about how you are so good at clearing your space intentionally when you walk into your workspace, I'm thinking to myself, like, I'm that no rules kind of girl. When I feel it, that's when I do it. After a reading or a session, I do clear the energy out of the space. That I do. But when I walk into this office or in my personal space, which I rarely ever do, I don't think of it. I don't, it's
Yep.
not something that comes naturally or as a pattern. It's just when I feel it needs to be done, it needs to be done. But maybe that's why I am so adamant about taking the decorations down that quick because I'm very physical. We've talked about this before where a lot of people are more mental. Uh, is that right? I don't know how
Yep.
to say
More
it.
mentally focused,
More
emotionally
mentally
focused,
focused, thank you. I'm
spiritually.
more
Yep.
physically focused, and I need that space clean. It's
Yep.
usually just the 2 of us, my husband and myself, after the holidays. We're like inundated with people. Maybe that's my way of clearing.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
Well, and to kind of speak on that note that you've always been good with sharing is we have a tendency to already do things in our life. We just don't all necessarily do them with intention. So when
Yeah.
we start doing things with intention, we realize, oh, maybe that's why that happens. Or like if you're wearing a color, why you don't realize that that color is supporting you in some way. And oh, maybe that's why I'm wearing that color or what have you. It's funny because I'm kind of like that with my stones. Like I use stones for intention within my energy work, within my meditation, and within my personal life, my jewelry all the time. And I have people ask me all the time, do you set your stones out in the moonlight every time? I don't. I am intentional with doing energy work on my stones. That's part of my process with clearing and setting my space in the beginning. But I clear them when it feels right. And I will maybe like when I put my bracelets on, I'll hold them in my hands and I'll send them light and say the intention out loud. And the idea is that that stone is helping me honor the intention of what energy I want to welcome into my life. So it feels better for me to just do it when it feels right versus having to have that ritual. But some people really need to have that structured, this is what works for me.
And both are right. Whatever
Absolutely.
works for you.
Absolutely. Um, but so if we reflect on kind of touching back and tying into this conversation, we've been talking about the stinky sock of spirituality and the we have this beautiful light and this lifting of a vibration that shows up within this work. And then we have these dense energies that hang out, I don't know which way, they hang out lower and they're more shadowy and they're dense and they're like grief and anger and sadness and overwhelm and frustration, and they sit at a lower vibration. And I think often that we have these denser energies become bigger when we raise our vibration, and they become like that stinky sock in the laundry where you have to wash it, you have to do something with it. And I feel like myself, when I clear my space, most of the times I do that at home or when I clear the energy of my stones or what have you, or I shift something up, I do it to honor that it's time to wash that sock. I do it in honor it's time to shift the intention versus get rid of the muck. It's like it's a celebration of I'm moving into something different. Does that make sense?
It does. It does. I don't know where to go from there. I have so many things in my head, so many ideas in my head. This is how I have been for the last few months. So this scattered energy is very much my stinky sock. And I think being who I am and the way I am, and I can blame it on my Capricornness, but we're also very different. I have a tendency to push that sock to the bottom of the laundry and just try to do the rest of the laundry, keep everything else nice and neat so no one sees the stinky sock. And I feel like, I've been pushing it down so long that that sock is super stinky and I can't hide it anymore. And it just keeps coming up to the top. But I do try to do all those. Well, I'll just get in high vibration and, I don't know. There's only so long you can push it down before it starts smelling up the whole house.
Absolutely. And there that it honors that because in our work, I witnessed you in your work and me in my work, we're not afraid of getting into the shadow with our clients. Like we absolutely understand. And with ourselves, we've had some really powerful conversations personally that have really, we've sat in it. We've kind of sat in that shadow, dark experience, that lower vibrational energy with each other to honor being there and moving through it. And I think so many times that lower vibration shadow or stinky sock energy sits there and it marinates. But I think there becomes a time where we get to / have to witness it, let it be, offer ourselves forgiveness for ignoring it, and then welcome in some of that light. And it feels like we haven't had the capacity until like that was last year and moving into this year, is that expanding our capacity to witness and be in that stinkiness and also welcome that brightness and freshness at the same time.
Right. Do you feel like, because I'm sitting here thinking about there's certain shadow aspects that I would dive into in a heartbeat for myself. Fear, anger, I don't mind getting into those, but what I have going on now, the grief, that's just something that I don't want to touch. So do you find that you have certain lower vibrational energies that you don't mind diving into, and then certain ones that you're like, yeah, maybe another day?
Yes. I don't know if it's funny because I don't think that I personally have the capacity to not be in them when they're there. Like I have a really hard time ignoring certain emotions. Like it just isn't something that happens naturally with me, which probably is a little obnoxious for those that live with me because if they're there, I have to I'm in them. I'm not always in them clearly, and there are definitely ones that I sit in longer or I struggle with longer or are louder, and I don't know necessarily how to find that balance within them. Um, so finding clarity with them is more of a struggle, but I can't say as it feels like, excuse me, that I'm ignoring them.
Hmm.
But I definitely think there are some that are harder for us than others. And
Right.
I think that's also why when you're talking to people, why your struggle and your shadowy work is that why that stinky sock is harder to clean for you, but yet others are so easily able to tell you how to clean it.
Hmm.
And I think it's because that's not their stinky sock. Like their purple sock isn't stinky. Their blue sock is stinky. And so that the visual of that, I just love that. So the that notion of our personal struggle is because there's a lesson in it for us. And I
Right.
think we've been exploring those lessons on such a deeper level that it's like, okay, you have to deal with this now.
Right. And it's funny because when I go in a session with someone and we're talking about their own low vibrational energies that they're going through, I can tell them what to do. And there's that little voice inside. It's like, oh, this is for you too.
Hmm.
You should be listening to this. And sometimes I do, and a lot of times I don't. I'm like, well, I'll deal with that later. I don't really want to do that now.
Yes, I feel like I get that when I'm talking to people, and I feel like it's almost like somebody's tapping on my shoulder. Hello, are you listening to this too? And I'll even say, okay, yep, I hear this. And in that moment, I fully receive it and hear it and feel it. But then when I get into the day-to-day life stuff, that's where I'm like, I forget about it.
Yeah.
And I think that's where our clients, that's why I like these conversations because I feel like our clients do that too. Like when they're in the session with us, everything's more clear and we're focused on it and we can connect with those thoughts. But when they get home in that day-to-day process, it's harder to keep those things going. And that's where I think there gets to be that forgiveness on a self level for so many is that it's okay if you can't be in that higher vibration, clear, clean energy all the time. It's not human.
Right.
And conversations like this help us understand that we're all human and we get to implement things even on a little tiny, like a micro level to help bring in that energy when we're able to
Right.
and
And that's
forgive us
why
when
we
we're not.
give everybody little tips when we're in sessions with them.
Yep.
I don't think it's any coincidence that we're both in red today, different varieties of red. But I will tell people, this one woman keeps coming up to my mind. Yellow was something that she needed in her life. She needed solar plexus work, and she's like, I don't like yellow. And then she texted me when she got home. She bought lemons and put lemons on her table, and just little things like that
Yep.
subconsciously will help you continue to work on what you need to work on. And so many people, I've said this before, so many people will already have said, when I say, oh, you need to bring some yellow in your life, they're like, I just bought yellow flowers. Like they already know intuitively.
Yep.
So we bring those little things in, whether we know it or not.
Absolutely. And it's those little things that really help to add up over time. That's one of the things with that I think really kind of drives a lot of people nuts when I'm introducing meditation to them is, you know what? For the first week, you're going to find your favorite meditative playlist. You're going to set a timer for 5 minutes and you're going to sit and just listen to that music and sit still and maybe focus on your breath for 5 minutes and that's it. And that it doesn't feel like meditation and it actually feels rather frustrating for people, but simply learning to be still and let that energy settle is
Mhm.
such a tiny but large step in
Can
like,
we
okay,
talk about how hard that is? The other
absolutely.
day I'm scrolling and I
That
see
is a stinky sock of meditation.
so
Sorry.
Abraham Hicks, and it said 15 minutes every day and something like that will change your life. And of course, I knew it was talking about meditation. And I'm like, 15 minutes. So I said, all right, I'm going to start 5 minutes. And yesterday I sat down 5 minutes and I hear a ding over here and I hear this over here. And I'm like, well, what was that? It's just so frustrating and so difficult until you get into a rhythm. But it's that sitting through the uncomfortableness, um, and this has purpose. I was going to say doing nothing without a purpose. We need to do this more often, but we're so geared towards accomplishing something, having some kind of purpose all the time. But there is a purpose to that and going inside, but it's so stinking hard.
It is. That is definitely one of the sinky socks of spirituality that I think so many people struggle with because I can't meditate and I just don't want to. And that stillness allows, to me, I feel like that stillness allows our energy to settle.
Mhm.
And when it settles, we start to witness the energy that we've been ignoring that's happening in our body and our mind and our emotions all day. And
Mhm.
we are so stimulated in life that it is hard to not be stimulated because it feels like we have become addicted to stimulation. And I see it in, and try to figure out how to balance it with my little one because I see it in us, I see it in her, I see it in clients, and it's just really hard to take that 5 minutes.
Yeah.
When we can do that on a regular basis, it helps us start to witness the energy that's happening inside of us. And when there are distractions, half of what meditation is in the beginning, to me, is learning to not react to those distractions, learning to not look and see what's beeping, learning to not respond to the person that's talking to you, learning to bring your focus back to the intention of the meditation, or letting those thoughts just move without having to react or respond to them. And when you can do that, you can start to choose your reactions to things in life. And that
Right.
feels really
Oh, that's
powerful.
a huge point. And I think for me, and I'm sure for other people too, I know that the moment I start to get still, that those emotions are going to come up and those feelings are going to come up. And I've been not wanting to deal with them for so long. It's like, not comfortable with that, not ready. But we have to sit with that uncomfortability.
Yep. And it's funny because there's a honeymoon period. When we first start that meditation, I see it in the energy work that I do with clients. I see it in the intuitive contemplation conversations we have. There's that honeymoon period where it feels great and it feels balancing and it helps to calm our nervous system and helps us find that settle. And then as we do that, we're actually raising the vibration that's happening in our body and our mind and our energy. And as that vibration raises, the things that are deeper, lower vibration don't resonate, and that contrast becomes bigger. So if you want to raise any more, you have to cut the ties to these lower vibrations. So they have to kind of come up and be seen a little bit. And that then becomes the honeymoon's over, we have to do a little work, and that's usually where people drop off. But that's also, if you don't drop off and you stick with it, we can go in and hone in on, okay, what chakra do you need to work on? Or we can find clarity within the readings, or we can start to move through that and find ways to release it.
Yeah, I saw this great visual yesterday where someone had taken a glass jar and they put golf balls in the glass jar. Like, this is whatever you're angry at, and this is what you're depressed at, and all of these low vibrational energies represented by these golf balls. And then they said, okay, now you're ready to start bringing in higher vibration. You're feeling better. You want to start to heal. And they poured water in the jar. And as all these healing energies came in, all of these low vibrational energies came to the top, because you have to get rid of the stuff that's no longer serving you to bring in the stuff that will.
That's a really great visual.
It
That's a
was
really
fabulous.
great visual. I'm going to
Mm.
have to find that and share that.
Yeah.
Um, so can we talk about, because I think that also leans into that notion of, in order to create space in our life for things like meditation, for spiritual work, whether you're embracing your intuition with some cards, whatever that is, we have to create space in our life for that to happen on the regular, which to me requires setting certain boundaries. And I think part of our stinky sock conversation has to be with setting boundaries, because I think that it sounds like a beautiful thing, and we feel like our initial reaction with setting boundaries is I'm going to resist and put something up that's going to protect me from that energy that I don't want in my life, which is great until the part of you that wants to interact with that energy has a hard time with that boundary. And I think that's the like the little baby stinky sock that nobody looks at, that you're going to have a reaction that's going to cause some resistance to setting that boundary because there's something maybe not so pleasant that you're receiving from that connection that's become the norm. And
Right.
I think it's that one of those boundaries is okay, I'm going to be still in my own stuff. And there's a part of you like, no, 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 we don't do stillness. We do stimulation and we do numbing through A, B, and C and D. I don't want to not numb. I don't want to be still. And I think that those setting boundaries sometimes gets to be part of that stinky sock of spirituality.
Absolutely. And, I feel like we should talk about sometimes the grief that comes along with setting boundaries because you're missing something, even if this something was not serving your best interest. It was part of who you were or part of what you did all the time. So there's this loss associated with it as well.
Absolutely.
Mm.
Absolutely. And it takes a little bit for us to learn that we can be without it
Mm-hmm.
and to learn that we can set that boundary and it's okay. So we have to be able to be in that resistance of setting the boundary where there's fear or there's grief or there's lack of self-worth that bubble up telling us no, 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 this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong. We have to learn to sit in and be in that and offer that energy love
Mm-hmm.
in forgiveness so that we can move past it. Whereas simply resisting it isn't working for us anymore. And
Right. And I think we should mention also as well that once you do decide to set a boundary, the universe has a way of testing that boundary and over again, over and over. One of my boundaries in my business is to never take a same day client. If somebody calls me and said, "Do you have any openings today?" My answer is always no, because people are usually in fear or in anger or in grief, and they're not open to hearing what they need to hear. They're looking for something they want to hear. And over again, I will get calls. "Do you have anything today?" And as I, put down that phone, I'm like, should I have? No, that's my boundary. Twice I broke my own boundary. Twice the readings were awful.
mhm,
So that is the
absolutely.
boundary I have to stick to.
It's funny because when we're setting that intention to welcome in people that we can support and heal and to grow our business and things like that, then when things like that happen, you're like, okay, come on. So it's like setting that intention that I would like this to happen within the boundaries that are healthy. And
Right.
it's, what was it this morning? I have this, I think it's like a 20-minute intention recording that I did for myself. And sometimes I'll tap with it. Sometimes I'll listen to it in the shower or on the car to work, which is what I did today. And there's different intentions. And one of them is I recognize and easily establish the boundaries that support my wellness. And it's that notion that these boundaries get to be there. And recognizing that they support us helps. You know what I mean? Like, okay, yes, this is hard, but this supports me. And I think that sometimes some of these boundaries are challenging patterns within us that have been there since day one of our life. You know what I mean? They're challenging things, and you don't have to figure out how to set them alone. Like, you get to reach out to all of your resources: physical, medical care, physical or mental health care, spiritual health care, whatever it is. You get to reach out to all the modalities to help you learn to do this. You don't have to figure out how to do it on your own.
Mhm.
Very cool. What other stinky socks do we come up with?
You know what? Let's talk about the fact that, so my own personal feelings, just as of late, December business wise, or the winter business wise, is notoriously slow anyway. But my business has been especially slow, I would say. And I know it's because I'm in a stinky sock. I like
Mm.
I am in there. So it's something that I resisted talking about with you so many times. Not with you personally, but with you
Here with
out
us.
here in the open. I'm like, I don't want anyone to know that my business is slow. But that's enough. I'm just adding to the stink of the sock when
Yep.
I'm not being vulnerably me and authentically me. And I was thinking about this morning before we got on. In my life, I used to be a personal trainer. I have been to personal trainers, and I want to go to that trainer who has struggled with weight loss and who has struggled with physical issues because they've been through the trenches and they know how to get themselves out. I want to go to the counselor or the therapist who has been to counseling or therapy because they know how that feels.
Mhm.
So why wouldn't people who are stuck in their lives want to go with someone who's been stuck in their lives and
Yep.
figured it out how to get out of there? So I don't want anyone to think that I am above all of this and this just never happened to me because it does. And
Yeah.
it's been here, it's been stinky for a while. But now that I have sat with it and I'm really processing what it is that is affecting me, I can start to work on healing that.
Absolutely. And it is something that happens in this spiritual process is life, the universe, whoever creates space in your life for you to be in it.
Mhm.
And I've heard so many people reference that as I'm not connected, I am connected. We're always connected. It's just sometimes that, and you have reminded me this one, especially when Ava was littler, that sometimes that connection gets a little bit quieter because our life stuff is a little louder and we're in something we either need to focus on or we get to move through. And that's one of the stinky socks. Yes, like you said, it's one of those ones that's it's obnoxious because it feels like we're doing it wrong, but we're
Right.
not. That's just as much that spirituality that we get to experience.
Right. Well, so many times I have said, oh, it was a really good thing I didn't have someone scheduled for this day because I needed to do this. In hindsight, you see it. But it's that trusting it before you know the reason why. That's the difficult part.
Yep. And that that divine timing is there. And I think that's where I think now we're starting to have that capacity where we can experience that struggle and that frustration with it and also recognize that maybe there's a reason. So when we can acknowledge this sucks, I don't want to be here, I don't want to do this, I don't want to feel this. And look, we also recognize that maybe this is why it happened. I think that's where that it helps us acknowledge it's like it's not a toxic positivity, it's a support of both.
Right. So now that we've talked so much about the stinky sock, I really liked what you said yesterday about starting to clean that sock up and how that we had a discussion about how much darkness and lower vibration is around and how it is that we need to start to proceed to come up out of this. And I really loved what you said about the stones and about how hematite and obsidian and onyx and those dark, heavy stones are usually the ones that we use for grounding and feeling better and feeling safe. But now those don't, for me and you personally, do not feel as good as maybe the selenite or something a little lighter to bring that lightness into the dark.
Yeah, yeah. I think that and it's funny because there are definitely times personally that I am not at a space where I'm at a space where I only simply need to find that grounding and that go within and that hermit kind of energy in my life because it's frustrating and I'm overstimulated and it's overwhelming. So I need to have almost like that darker protective energy around me. But then I don't know if I've ever felt it this defined, but it's like that yin yang symbol that eventually, when we resist that shadow for so long, that becomes our focus with holding it off
Mhm.
versus allowing that light to come in and to wash away. That what's that saying that light darkness cannot drown out light. I don't remember exactly what that is, but that notion that that light continues to shine and continues to fill that darker space. And it
Mhm.
feels like as we move into the new year, that brightness and that lightness have become not just something that we win at the end of the release, but something that has become powerful, a powerful tool in lifting that vibration. And it's funny when you talk about the stones, I realized this morning when I looked at all of my bracelets, all of my intention bracelets right now are hematite and obsidian and bloodstone and red jasper, and they're all about grounding and releasing and protecting. And I'm like, I need to brighten my stones up. I need some lighter energy within them to honor that I get to welcome that in.
But I also
Absolutely.
feel like part of it has to do with the way I feel is like I don't feel like, even though this is mine personally and I am going through this particular thing, I don't feel like I'm alone in it. I feel like we're bringing the collective, like so many people are going through this and so many people are ready to rise out of it and rise above it or to begin to, that bringing that light in. To me, the darker things, the hematite and holding up is just about me and protecting me, but the lighter stones are about let's open this shit up now and let's bring everybody into the light and let's everyone start to heal.
So, oh, you just put a couple of things into play.
I love that. I love when that happens, when that goes off in your head.
So, like that whole those stones are about you and keeping you protected.
Mhm.
This completely leans back into our conversation about the crown chakra. After that conversation, to me, that's when all of this started to shift. There was a shift of realization that I had that, it's one of those things that and then you know it on a new level after
Mhm.
our conversation about the crown chakra, because the idea of that connection and that openness and that higher vibration, it feels like that crown chakra energy. And that's why things like selenite and lepidolite and maybe amethyst or whatever those higher vibrational stones, why that higher energy is supporting us, because it's pulling us out of that seclusion. It's pulling us out of that hermit mode into that openness where we, like you said, we realize we are not alone and we
Mhm.
get to experience and shift this energy on a global level,
That's big.
right? That feels like, whew,
It does feel good. Mm.
in that, like, okay, so then let's focus on, I just have to go through this for a minute because, like, in my energy sessions for so long, we've been incorporating root chakra work to simply let people help them find safety within their body and to ground their energy back in to help them feel grounded and safe again within their body. And then we worked on the heart so we could open up to some love. And now we've incorporated crown chakra work in a lot of the sessions that I'm doing, because now it's like, okay, let's bring in some of that vibration lift. And that, so like as we move forward and as we're embracing this light and as we want to clean these stinky socks that we've experienced, that play that crown chakra music, carry that crown chakra stone, welcome in that heart chakra music, like everything from the heart up. These get to be powerful chakras now, not just spiritual chakras.
Oh,
Oh,
I love
okay. I feel like I know what I want to do for my personal practice now.
that. I love that.
Hmm. Okay. Um, so how are some of the ways you clean your stinky socks? Like what do you do when you need to clear out, clean out, and open up?
I thought it was pretty obvious I wasn't doing anything, but what am I what am I planning on doing?
Exactly. What are one or
I
two
thought
things that
I
you do
made that
now?
blatantly obvious. I have been doing nothing, Caryn, nothing.
And that's okay.
I tried my 2.5 seconds of meditation yesterday. Um,
Yay! Exactly.
so honestly, maybe a little bit I have because I truly, back to what we did for Christmas, I truly enjoyed having our family here overnight and our granddaughter overnight. So bringing joy in, that's always got to be number one. Like doing something that just makes you super happy with no agenda. And there's never an agenda with her. It's always like crazy play, which is fabulous. But my intention today and moving forward is to begin that meditation practice. I've known for years this is what I need to do. I keep starting and stopping, and I've forgiven myself, but we are going to start again. And actually, I'm going to pull out a meditation that you gave me, and I'm
Okay.
going to sit with that. So that is my plan. And quite honestly, to bring less distraction in my life. There are so many ways I distract myself from going inward. And I tell people all the time, you have to be calm and peaceful here in order to deal with what's going on outside. So how am I supposed to be able to do that if I am not calm and peaceful in here?
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
that's my intention.
I love those. You hit the nail on the head with that notion of joy. That's my
Mhm.
thing is like joy and laughter get to
Yeah.
be solid places in my
Mhm.
life. And no matter what's going on, and I guess that's for me that hits on a level of worthiness.
Mhm.
There's that I am worth these energies being in my life no matter what's going on. I don't
Right.
have to earn them at the end of being a good girl or doing the good
Mm.
tasks. I get to experience them now as I am. And they anchor that lighter vibration into my life. And just, they're very human laughter moments. Like, we went to the gym as a family. It wasn't the gym, it was a firehouse. There's a little gym we work out at the firehouse that my husband belongs to. And we went there as a family the other day. And like that felt really good. Like we laughed on the vehicle on the way there, maybe on the way back because I'm always resistant on the way there. But like just those little laughter moments are really powerful.
Yeah.
Um, and for me, honoring my space at home, having a space like the corner of my bedroom seems to be where it is, that I can go to get away from everything and honoring that I feel better when my space is settled and energetically clear or is set to catch me. At the end of the day, like I really struggle and don't like to do dishes. And at the same time, I recognize that when I do, I am a better person because
Mhm.
of me and what it does for me. So, like, for me, making sure my home space revisits that setting where it catches me and nurtures me is one
Mhm.
of my things that I want to do more. Um, and I want to get back to my own practice, my own tapping and meditation practice. I think because we are spiritual practitioners, it's very easy to put it into the work category and we forget to do it for ourselves. So,
Yeah, definitely. I also want to go back to that laughter thing because for me, that has been huge the last few months when we've been going through some particularly tough times with our animals. And there's been so many times where I have had,
I was hoping
um,
you'd share that.
I'm not sure I'm sharing what you think I am, but I've had some parties planned and things that I've had to cancel because of things that have been going on. But the last time something happened, I was like, that's it. I'm not going to because I need these people that are around me to bring that joy and that laughter into my life again. And we had the best time that night. But that's also part of the boundaries that we brought up before. I have been going through my Facebook list, and whomever is not in alignment with what I want moving forward for myself, I have removed from my Facebook. And there's a little grief in there because I'm like, ooh, and a little fear because I don't know what these people are going to think of me when they see me outside. And then I'm like, what do I care? They are not in alignment with what I want moving forward for myself. But I said to my husband the other day, I'm just amazed at the quality and caliber of people we have brought into our lives at this age who just can bring me so much joy and us bring them joy as well. And so I've been really cleaning up my side of the street in that way. If I'm not bringing any value to your life and you're not bringing any value to my life, I will say hello and Merry Christmas and and just keep walking by. But That's it. I don't want you in my day to day. And that's a boundary I have been putting up. So I didn't think that was what you were looking for me to share. What was it you were looking for me to
No,
share?
that was exactly it because I
Oh,
had that
okay.
thought how you had shared how you were going to have those people over anyway
Yes.
when you had the struggles right before that. And
It was so hard. It was that day. It was an awful week and an awful, awful day. And I was like, no, I am not canceling this. I need these people in my life to bring me that light. I need them to support me through this. And not only did they support me through that night, but a few in particular supported me throughout the entire weekend. And that was huge. It was huge.
and I think that that is such a perfect example of not only advocating for that wellness and how that those moments of joy and laughter and connection, it may not have started out like I'm sure when you started out with the notion of I'm still going to have these people over, you weren't expecting to embrace joy, but
No.
just simply have that connection, which then led to laughter and joy, I'm sure.
Right.
And when we open ourselves up to that, when we let, maybe that's one of those boundaries we get to set down and we don't have to protect ourselves so much and be
Mhm.
open to those connections, we let that lighter vibration come in and then it lifts that energy. And I think that when we can question ourselves and our patterns and be like, okay, maybe that's not the way it needs to be. Maybe I get to just open the door slightly and then other stuff just naturally happens and falls in. I love
Yeah,
that. I'm
that's
so
a
glad you
big
shared.
thing for me because when I'm going through something, I hole up. Like you won't hear from me for days when I'm going through something. I just feel like I need to do it all by myself and take care of it and then just emerge. But that's not always the way. It's probably not the healthiest of ways. And this was so much better letting these people in and letting them help me. And I think we forget to allow people to help us.
Hmm. Absolutely. And for me, I have to say, I think a lot of times it becomes who do I want to be in response to this? If I can
Mhm.
slow down the emotional response enough to, and that's where meditation helps me witness and slow down that reaction. And so I can be like, who do I want to be in response to this? That's been a powerful thing where when I feel like I'm in conflict with some of the core people in my life, um, to be able to slow down and question and forgive the part of me that's reactive and
Mhm.
question who do I want to be in response to this? Do I want to be the person that's angry or frustrated or victimized by this energy, or do I want to look at ways that I can adjust to maybe open this up, or that I can adjust to set a boundary if I need to?
Mhm.
I love it. See, the
Mhm.
stinky socks, they just need to be washed.
Yeah.
I love it.
I'm ready to wash them. I'm ready to dig it out from the bottom of the hamper.
Sometimes they got to be washed a couple of times.
Mhm.
It's like what so the visuals that I've had are stinky socks, like dirty, yucky socks in each chakra color that are hung on the wall by clothespins, and that we get to wash each sock. And then, do you ever see those reels where where they're cleaning those really messy carpets?
No, I don't
This gets
watch
me
reels. I like them.
I'm gonna have to if you get a random one someday, you're like, why are you showing me this dirty carpet?
I'll
Ask me
remember.
why. But there's these reels where they have these really dirty, messy carpets, and then this professional cleaner goes through, and it's like it's just this weird, satisfying reel.
I'll
But
be satisfied. Yeah.
yep, they clean this carpet, and it takes them like 10, 11 times to clean this carpet, and then they see this new carpet underneath. To me, that's what it feels like. Sometimes their stinky socks need to be cleared a couple of times.
Oh,
So for us to understand how we're moving forward.
for
So
sure. All right,
okay.
let's do this. You know we both have cards in our
I
hand.
know, right? I just had one pop out and I'm like, no, let's shuffle them up. So go ahead, share what deck you have and pull a card.
I actually created my own oracle deck just from pictures of landscapes of people, of odd things, of everything that caught my eye over the years. I decided to create my own deck with it because these pictures evoke some kind of emotion or knowing in me. And I just wanted to. So I'm going to pull a card from there and just ask what it is we most need to know right now.
Love it.
Ooh, look at talking about dark times and dark energies. So this was at a park, I believe it was Harkness Memorial Park here on the Connecticut shoreline, and it was just this amazing castle looking structure. And I'm going to be honest with you, it was fairly it was a brighter day than this, and I put it in black and white because I just thought it looked better. But I love how strong the castle looks to me. That's what's coming up, honestly. The resilience and the courage of it to stand so tall in the midst of this murky darkness. And, just reminding us, look at that crown chakra energy going on right here, reminding us that we are still connected, even through the cloudy times and the not so clear times. There's that connection that's still there. And also the trees branching out are really speaking to me today. And just, I guess it supports that thing I was saying about allowing other people to support you and not always holding in. You can be this strong, courageous, sturdy person, but also branch out for help when needed and resources.
I love that. I love that. That was the thing that stuck out the most to me was the light at the top of the tower that really stuck out. And I love how you connected that with that light at the crown chakra and the trees. You make such a good point with the trees too. That's really cool. Branch out and connect. Okay. I have the Wild Harmonic Oracle deck by Gabriel Merrihew. This is one of the decks I don't work with often on the regular, so this one sometimes is a good challenge for me to dive into. And they're round, which I feel like honors that everything gets to come full circle. So we are just going to shuffle a card to accent our notions from today. Oh, we're going right in at the end. Oh, well, talk about branching out. Okay, so I pulled it out this way. To me, it feels like growth and expansion, and there's a brightness at the core of us. And to me, that feels like at the heart of us, there is this brightness that gets to fuel our expansion. And as we connect with that light within, we then get to share that light with the world around us. However, also, there's little words on these cards that honor certain parts of the way the deck is written. And when you hold it with the words up, it actually represents roots, that more so that expansion and that grounding. So to me, it really feels, and then of course you got the greens and the blues, which are flow and nourishment and balance to me. So it really feels like we have created these roots and this foundation of balance and of safety and of connectedness within ourself, that now it is time to open up and branch and spread out and to be nourished and allow our light to reach out and nourish others. Nourishing roots is one of the words that's at the bottom, and that idea of water of the earth, she uses the elements in this, and the idea of being grounded as well as allowing that flow, and we get to nurture ourselves now. We get to allow that into our life.
I love that. Even though you held it up differently, the first thing that came to my mind was roots, which is because it was all branching out. It was beautiful. And then I noticed the colors and thought of when you said from the heart chakra up, and the heart chakra is sometimes represented by the color green. So the green and the blue and all of those colors about how we are connected and need to
Absolutely.
that way.
This is really random, but I would love, we've talked about this a couple times with my daughter, of her doing some artwork and making a deck for me. So when you share your personal deck, I'm like, oh, I really want her to do that someday. Anyway, random. I love the notion of those colors. So greens and pinks for the heart, robin's egg blue, turquoises, and lighter blues for the throat. Indigo blues, I feel like royal blue kind of happens in between the brow and the throat. Indigo blue, violet, indigo colors for the brow, purple and white for the crown and above. All colors that we get to work with in our life now currently. Very cool.
Thank you for that.
Thank you. Any other thoughts or questions?
Yeah, it's really been bothering me in my weirdness that you didn't say where you were located either in the beginning. I don't know why it's been bothering me through this whole time. And I'm like, she never said where she was.
No, I thank you for the call out. I get in the beginning opening, and I guess I'm used to when I do my own podcast, I feel like people kind of know me, so they don't want to hear me say it again, but you make a very valid point. So I am currently now, as we record this, in my office space in Penn. I also offer virtual sessions, as well as I am in Newark, New York, twice a month. So I have a couple of different spaces in a couple of different counties. But I'd say Penn is home base where I do most of my work. But then there is absolutely some accent in Newark as well as virtual. So
Thank you. I feel better.
thank you for pointing that out. Absolutely. You can always ask me the questions because I forget often. So
I know, and I'm just so used to, I don't know, I kind of have to apologize. Like, you're so good at the intro and you're so good at the questions. I just kind of sit back and let you go with it, but I can help once in a while.
we'll practice that moving forward.
There you go.
I don't know, I'm
I'll
just
branch out of my shell a little.
right. Very cool. So we want to thank you guys for hanging out with this podcast and listen to us chat. Our goal is to share these episodes with you once a month. Your feedback for these episodes is very helpful for us. It helps to validate that we are sharing content that you enjoy, that we should keep going with it, and it helps build our listenership. So comment what resonates, share your stories. You can reach out to us personally if you want. We're both on social media. Share it with a friend. If you're on Spotify or Apple Podcast, then maybe like and follow and leave a review. Or if you're on YouTube, then subscribe and follow, whatever it is, wherever you are. So, yeah, thank you for being here. Thank you for talking, Danielle.
Yes, and thank you. I love doing this.
I'm glad we're here again. Very cool. Alrighty. Have a wonderful day and continue with your own uniquely divine conversations.